Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Be Perfectly Blended. In today's video, I am making red beans and rice, making my red beans in the crock pot and some fried chicken, along with some cornbread. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and make breakfast for my family. Thanks so much for coming along with me today, and I hope you enjoy it. This morning, I'm making a pretty simple breakfast. I'm making some fried potatoes, bacon, and eggs. Here I'm making my husband's eggs. He likes his eggs fried hard, and I just add a little salt and pepper. Once the bacon was all finished cooking, I went ahead and plated up the food. We ate breakfast. It was super yummy, and now I'm moving on to prepping for my red beans and rice. These are the seasonings I use. I do use what's called Slap Your Mama. It's kind of spicy, or you can use a Cajun type of seasoning, or you don't have to have a spicy seasoning. Moving on to my red beans. This is a jar that I keep them in, and I'm pointing to these beans in here that will need to be picked out. I have already rinsed these beans, but I'm going to go ahead and rinse them for the video. And when you're rinsing your beans, you're just rinsing them in the water, and those beans that are like split in half or look like they may have a little damage or something like that, you just want to go ahead and pick those out. Otherwise, you're just rinsing your beans. Once your beans are rinsed, you're going to go ahead and add them to your crock pot. Here's one I missed. You might see those throughout your beans, little ones you missed. Just pull them on out. And then I'm going to go in and get the secret ingredient, and here it is, smoked turkey wings. Now, I suggest smoked turkey wings. You can use a smoked turkey leg, but I just think the meat comes off a little bit easier. But make sure they are smoked. That's what's going to give the flavor. Then with the amount of beans you see here, I went ahead and added 2 cups of water. You just want to make sure that your beans are submerged in the water. And then I went on and added my seasoning to the water. I will continue to add seasoning throughout the cooking process, but this is just in the very beginning. Once you've added all your seasonings, go ahead and put the lid on and set your crock pot to go. I cook mine for 4 hours. So the first hour, I will put my crock pot on high, and then I will check it and set it to low and let it go for the next 3 hours. So this is about what it looks like after the first hour on high. So it's still got quite a bit of water. My beans are beginning to get a little tender, but my turkey leg is not quite tender. The meat's not separating yet. So at this point, I would go ahead and put the lid back on and set it on low. Onto my wet batter for my fried chicken, I've taken about a cup of flour and combined it with some milk and an egg, mixed it together, rinsed my chicken, and patted it dry. Make sure you pat it dry as it helps for the batter to stick. So then I'll have my wet batter, and then I'm going to use these seasonings here and combine them with flour for my dry batter. Next, I'm going to move on and make my cornbread. I've added the milk that the directions say to add. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the eggs in, just following the directions on the back of the box. Adding my melted butter. Butter makes everything so much better. Now, for this dinner, I did not, but sometimes I add honey to my cornbread. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you add honey to your cornbread mix. Clearly, I'm getting every bit of this batter into this pan. This is how I make my dry mix. I add some flour into a Ziploc bag like this, and then I will add all of my seasonings that I showed earlier and just shake it all up. Now you will see me do this again and add a little more because I didn't feel like I quite had enough flour to really give a good coating. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add some oil to the pot. I like to fry chicken wings in this pot. I feel like the sides are up high enough to prevent splash, but it's not too deep so the chicken wings won't get lost. So here I am adding some more because I did add a little bit more flour into the bag. I like to also do this part because it will cut down on cross-contamination because your seasonings are already in place. You've already touched all that before you touch the chicken. Now, I do want to give a cringe warning. In this video, I am not using gloves because I want to show you exactly how I do it with the wet batter and how I shake it off. Of course, you're more than welcome to use gloves, and I know a lot of people really don't like to have bare hands when they deal with chicken. But I did wash my hands quite a bit throughout, and I use forks, and I use them specific to whether or not the chicken's been cooked. With that being said, once you put them in the wet batter, you just mix it all up so that they're nice and coated, and then you're going to take them up, and you're just going to try to get off all the excess batter that you don't need on there, and then just lay them onto a paper towel. I also wanted to mention, back when you are mixing the dry flour before you're touching the chicken, you can, once you've seasoned it in the bag, you can dip your finger in and kind of take a little taste of the flour. That'll give you the idea of how seasoned your chicken will be, and then you can add seasoning to taste. Once my chicken is all covered in the wet batter, I went ahead and washed my hands again and came back, and now I will begin to put them in the bag here and shake them all up. Try not to overfill the bag. Once you get your chicken in there, just go ahead and shake it up so that all the pieces are nicely coated. Now, this paper towel right here, I do want to say I keep it off to the side, and I've already put bleach on it. So you'll see me kind of grab it throughout, just a square paper towel with a little bleach on it so I can just kind of quickly wipe. It's already there. Anyways, here I am shaking up the chicken, and then I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of flour. My grease was not ready. This time it is ready, and you can tell because when you just put a little pinch of flour into it, it'll start to bubble. At that point, I put the cornbread into the oven, and now I'm going to go ahead and put the chicken in so it can begin to fry. Now, you don't want to overcrowd your pot or your chicken, but you can go ahead and fill it nicely just as long as the pieces aren't touching each other so that they can get a nice even fry. This is the amount of dry batter that I have left, so I'm going to go ahead and coat the rest of these pieces of chicken and put them in the bag, shake them up, get them ready to fry. So this is how the chicken's looking so far, nice and golden. And now I've put my water in the pot, just following the directions on the back of the box to make some rice. Back here, I'm adding some green beans to a pot with some butter, and then I will season them with a little bit of Johnny seasoning salt, some garlic, and some onion powder. At this point, it was really beginning to smell so good in the kitchen. All right, here I'm getting ready to fry up my last little batch of chicken. Whoops, made a little mess. Once your chicken is nice and crispy, go ahead and pull it out. This usually takes about 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how crispy. And your chicken should definitely be floating. That's how you know it's done. I do use a fork to take my chicken out, but I try not to poke holes. Otherwise, you can use tongs that are safe to go into the grease. Once I get my last batch of chicken in the frying pan, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my rice. So I have my water boiling, and I'm just adding the rice to the water, along with some butter, of course. All right, I know for most of this I did a voiceover because it's kind of hard to hear me, with grease frying, but also it is a Sunday, so my husband is watching games. But anyways, I did want to share real quick. If you feel like you have too much water in here when you're getting close enough to serve the meal, you can then just put your lid kind of teeter-totter, put it back on high, and it will, the steam and, it'll come up and kind of dry out a little bit. The other thing I do when it gets to this point, and I've removed the bones and all that, is when I smush it, if you have, it's already been used, so it's got beans on it. But if you have one of these, for your hamburger meat and stuff, use it to mash up your beans if that's the way you like it. My family likes some of them mashed up, and I'll show you the consistency. So I just use this. You kind of mash it up. At this point, your meat is all separated from the bones. I've pulled the bones out, the skin out, and it all comes out real easily. So you're looking for a large bone, and then there tends to be like two kind of smaller ones, and then the skin, of course. And the rest of the meat, when you do it like this, it just kind of mixes everything together. So, someone's at the front door. Must smell the good food. Once my cornbread is finished, I go ahead and pull that out, and then I just take a little pat of butter on a knife and just butter the top of my cornbread while it's still hot from the oven. Looks yummy, nice and crispy. All right, well, the food is all done. It looks amazing. I'm going to give you a quick overview of everything. I'm not quite going to plate up yet. My husband is not quite ready to eat, but I am going to take this opportunity to go ahead and close out this vlog. So I want to say thank you for coming along with me today. Please feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you try the fried chicken or if you try the red beans and rice or what you think of it. And please do subscribe if you enjoy my content. I'm really trying to grow my channel. As I mentioned in previous videos, this is last month was my first month with my channel. Now we're in May, so I'm entering my second month. But please do, if you enjoy the content, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Typically, when I plate up the red beans and rice, or I serve it, I take a spoonful of rice and then a spoonful of the red beans and pour it over the top of the rice. So good. See you in the next one.